Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. It's another recovery story today with a very dear, I want to say client, but I feel more like to say friend right now of mine.
Oh,
We worked together for quite a while and she's just such a special person and I'm really happy to have her today. So welcome Kirsten on this YouTube video.
hello.
How are you feeling today?
So I already mentioned to you that I have a bit of a cold. I'm a little sleep deprived because of it, but other than that, like I'm fine.
Just a
Yeah, I'm
little.
doing good. Yeah.
Something's going around, I think. Like half of my clients
Absolutely.
have been sick. So yeah,
Everyone at work is sick with something. Like every time I go into the staff room at work, everyone's like coughing and spluttering and it's gross. And like we're not actually helping the situation. We're just, I think, passing new viruses around to each other.
yeah. Funny story, actually. I just thought of it might be like a fun side note to mention in the interview. When I
Yeah.
was in high school, I did my senior year trip
Oh
to Ireland, which is where Kirsten is from. And I remember very little of it because it was just such a long time ago. But one of the things that I remembered was that we visited this incredibly beautiful Irish castle called Bunratty Castle. And I think it was like one of the first sessions we've had that she mentioned that she works there. It was like obviously when I went there, she wasn't working there yet, but that was like so funny to me how like small the world can be. That the place where you
yeah.
work is where I've been, and I'm from Belgium and
Yeah.
from Ireland. So yeah.
I still think about that. Like, sometimes I'll be walking through the castle and my dress or whatever, because like I have to wear a dress for this thing, as you know. And I'm like, oh my God, Robin was here. It's so crazy.
Yeah, small world, but yeah. So, Kirsten, obviously we're here to talk about your journey with DPDR today, and you've had quite a, I think, very up and down experience with it, as you
Oh
probably
yeah.
know. So I just want to give you the time, I guess, to start by just sharing a little bit about your journey with it. Like, can you share a little bit to us in terms of what your symptoms were, how long you had it, how intense you had it, and just kind of giving us the background.
So I think you'll have to bear with me as I gather all my thoughts, but this is like I started coaching with Robin back in January of 2023, and we sort of concluded in around October-ish. But this is my second bout of DPDR. The first time I had it was back in 2021 for about 8 months also. Um, so what's I this second bout that I decided to go to Robin for coaching came after a lot of stress and change. I just finished university and I was starting to work. There were a lot of changes going on in my life, and there are a lot of things in the background that I'm not going to share now, but that I hadn't really dealt with properly, or things that I thought I'd dealt with or processed, but maybe only processed halfway or something like that. You know. So I've seen Robin for around 8 months or so, and symptoms I had were like, you know, just the classic DPDR symptoms, like things looked wrong, things didn't look real. In my bedroom and in my house was fine, but then I'd leave my house, for instance, and I like wouldn't recognize the place I was in, like my neighborhood. So I didn't want to leave my house. And like it is the first time I had DPDR and the second time I had it, the symptoms seemed to be mostly the same. So even though I knew what it was, I didn't, for some reason, I couldn't shake it off this time, the way I did the last time. Um, Other symptoms were just a constant feeling of dread and existential thoughts as well, like um, looking at the world and thinking, why is it the way it is? How do I know if I'm actually here? Kind of things like that.
Yeah.
And
So I remember a few times that and I actually wanted to ask you about this because you had times where you like lost your way, like literally could not remember where you were, or that's at least what it felt like. Was that, looking back now, actually forgetting your way, or was that like a memory thing, or was that just the DPDR making everything look so strange that you just could not remember where you were? Or
I so I definitely described it that way to you, but now looking back in hindsight with like a fresher, more neutral mindset and attitude towards it, it was definitely just the DPDR and me being so emotional, then spinning that wheel around like the DPDR is so bad, everything is wrong, and then just that
yeah,
constantly churning in the background. I couldn't shake it. So yes, there were a few times I'd walk around my neighborhood and I'd be like, I've actually never seen this place before.
yeah,
But you know, I felt for me, autopilot was always, and I always say this, autopilot was always on in the background. So I could always get home. I could always do these things again. But like I was in a constant state of just fear.
mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it last night because I was watching a few recovery videos as well, just to get an idea of what people talked about. I was actually in a big spiral of just hatred towards the DPDR, and like that's understandable, but like I just hated it. So much resistance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing I remember as well, like in your whole experience, just how absolutely terrified you were of it. And I
Mm,
think that's normal for most people. I just think that some people, you can be scared of it or you can be frustrated about it, but I really deeply felt like you were very terrified, especially when you felt it like so strongly. Of course, yeah, you're in the cycle of, do you feel it strongly because you're so afraid of it? Um, but yeah, do you think you're more aware of that now, looking back, just like how much you actually resisted it, than
oh
you?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like I was thinking back to a few of our sessions where I'd just be crying to you saying like it's the worst thing I've ever had. I need this gone. I'm like, I needed to just take a breath. But absolutely, yeah. It's amazing what
You
hindsight does.
Yeah. You were so convinced that you were like the you kept asking me this as well, like have you ever worked with someone that had it as terribly as I have it? And of course I get that question a lot, but you were so convinced that like
Yeah, I
I
was convinced like I had to be Robin's basket case, and I'm sure like that's a phrase you're familiar with because I'm sure other clients have spoken to you about it. But I was like, yeah, well, these people say they have it bad, but they don't have it the way I do. Kind of, it was almost like a competition. Like I have it the worst.
yeah. Well, it's not a competition. I
Not a
guess
competition, not a competition at
so,
all, by the
like,
way.
when you're so afraid of something, you can almost start looking for it. And I think that's what you were doing. I'm so terrified that I will not recover, that I almost like want to know for sure so that I can prepare for it, so that I can like accept my
Exactly.
fate as like roaming around this planet forever with this condition.
Mm,
Luckily, that's
exactly.
not happened.
No.
So, what do you feel like was the moment where things started turning around for you? And if you can also share some of the things like that you started doing that started to help you. Um,
So obviously your videos, godsend. They're great. But uh Robin mentioned at the start that I had a very up down experience where I felt like, yes, it's finally going and like I'm really giving it the kick now and it'll be gone. And then it would come back and I'd fall flat in my face with it. Um so I didn't have the most seamless kind of, the way they say recovery is like yeah, 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 and it generally kind of falls up in that direction.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was all over the place. But what did I start doing? So I started with your videos. Something I started very early in my journey was no, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. So take what I say with a pinch of salt. I started ashwagandha because I felt like that took an edge off the symptoms for me because before I started with Robin, I was like having multiple panic attacks about this a day, whereas the ashwagandha actually made it easy for me to like keep it all contained somewhat. But
For those
yeah,
who don't know,
so I need,
ashwagandha is a supplement, right? It's not a medication or
oh
anything of
yeah,
that sort.
but
Yeah.
like I know it does interact with certain medications. So like that's why I said, do if you want to try it, do your research on it, consult a few people. But anyway, um, so I tried that. I've already been on medication anyway, and I felt when I started with Robin, maybe the medication was waning. Like, it's done its job. I need to change to something else. But I said, if this is what it's like now at the dosage I am, in order to change, I'll have to taper. And I knew that if this is what I'm like now, and I'm already so heightened and anxious, there's no way I'd be able to handle tapering down. So I decided to augment its efficacy with ashwagandha. So that's where I came from. Then I started, um, there's a period of doing your meditations every day and yoga. Hatha, I think, is it yin or hatha? Yin yoga, which is the
Yin
restorative.
is more quiet. Hatha is more energetic, I think. I'm not a
Okay,
big
then it's yin.
expert, but I think it's
Yeah,
kind of a little bit like that.
I did that every day for a bit. And these things, like, they'd help me calm down to get to a point where I could finally like conceptualize what you were talking about, but I could never actually get it because I was just so afraid still. But the actual dread and fear I felt was slowly coming down, but it wasn't gone. I still feared it. So I was always searching for it as well, the DPDR.
Yeah. Do you think that's why you kind of went up and down? Was because obviously, and I want to get there later in the interview, there was that one moment where I think you really had that big shift and things really started turning around more for you. But before that, it was kind of like you said, very like up and down, up and down. Do you think that that was because of that you worked mostly on, I guess, like calming yourself down and that had an effect, but in the core, the root of DPDR is
Yeah,
deep fear of the DPDR and a deep fear of your own emotions and of your anxiety and of the world and all of that core wasn't really resolved yet. So it was kind of
yeah,
managing at the surface, but not.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
definitely. And like I used to watch your videos on acceptance with so much confusion because I used to think acceptance in your videos, it looked like you loved having DPDR. And I'm like, I don't understand this woman. What is she talking about? I'll never get to this place. But just to clarify, acceptance isn't love, acceptance is just neutrality.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
accepting everything as it is. And then, by doing so, you learn that everything is truly temporary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember because the first session, and maybe this is also something you can share a bit more about, the first session that I was
Okay.
like, okay, she's getting there, and I felt it so deeply, was because for the first time ever, you used the word unbothered, and you kept like saying it. It was after you got back from your because Kirsten's a musician, she plays amazing violin, and she went to like a course thing for
Hmm.
people in orchestra, and it
Yeah.
was then where you started to, I guess, finally get this more neutral attitude towards it of like being more unbothered than like trying to make it go away, basically. Can you tell a little bit
Yeah.
more about that?
So that course I went on was in August. So this is just so that was basically okay, my maths was wrong. I was probably doing coaching with you for about 9 months and then some. This is around 8 months in. I wanted to do this course. They were playing a piece I really loved. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And then it was in a new place, which is still one of my triggers to this day, things being unfamiliar, but that's just something that'll go away in time with patience. Um, yeah, so that course, I was kind of left with no choice but to just completely let the DPDR overwhelm me and then see it as just what it is. It's just so much stress and anxiety and the trauma response for some people as well. And I just let it completely overwhelm me. And by day 4 into the course, I was like, you know what, this is actually very bearable. I can't say I love it, but it's, it's fine. Like if I have to wake up the next day and it's still like this, like I can't say I'll be pleased, but you know, I can manage, I can work through it. Yeah.
You basically finally saw it for what it really was, rather than the monster you'd created of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And then what?
Okay, now I see my dog. I'm scared she'll start barking, but anyway.
That's fine. You can have some
You know
bark.
what this you know what she's been like in the past.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what started happening after that moment? How did you start progressing and getting to the point where you are right now, basically?
I think, when you start getting more and more neutral towards it, um, the monster you've built it up in your head to be, like, it's kind of all the layers of it start shedding, and you realize every single time you've survived. Now it hasn't been pretty, but like you've done it. So like you can actually do it again. And then I did it again and again and again every day for that course, and I realized it just kind of sucks. I didn't see it as like something fearful. It's just annoying. And I think that's because I actually know, now that we're talking about this course, I remember a week before you, I was the worst I'd ever been, like in my lows. I was crying to you, like I was like, I'm going on a course in a week and this is the way I am. And there's no way I can do this. And he kind of just told me very straight, a bit blunt, like, you're still terrified of it. Kind of, I don't remember it exactly, but you're still petrified. And to the point that it's, I think he told me there's nothing you could do to make my fear of it go away. It's something I had to do. And then I was like, oh, fuck, well, now I'm a basket case. And it just started the whole loop again. Um,
Yeah.
but then being on that course, I was left with no choice again to just completely let it all fall upon me. And I did. And yeah, the rest, it's been getting steadily a lot better since.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember that session. I feel like sometimes I'm of the nature, I as a coach or as someone helping people through this, I'm very comfortable being in the soft, compassionate role. And for me, it's very challenging when I notice it to be a bit more harsh sometimes or a bit more direct. And I remember that session because it was uncomfortable for me as well, because it was like I recognize this like victim mindset that you were stuck in of like, Robin, please help me. I'm like, I'm a helpless basket case. And I was like, Kirsten, it's been a few months now. If you like, I've told you everything I know basically. Now you have to do it. Like, I cannot do it for you. And the
Mm.
first reaction was like, oh my God, no. And then afterwards, you like kind of realize
No.
afterwards you kind of realize like, wait a minute, she's actually right. And that's when you went on the
Yeah.
course. That was when you surrendered. And then ever since that
Mm.
moment, when I saw you after that course, I've seen you, I've told you about, like before we started recording, I've just seen you start to look, and like your whole energy is so much different and you look incredible, and you're
Thank you.
just make me very happy, and you've only been going upwards ever since. So like this whole up and down thing, what you said about like my recovery wasn't steady upwards, it was because you weren't doing it right yet, and you just needed a lot of time to get to that point where you could surrender,
Mm.
and you needed a kick up under the butt from me, first of all. But would you say that since that moment of that you like actually started just accepting it truly, that's when you started to have that like steady upward movement?
Definitely. And I think just sorry, I'm sniffly.
Take your tissue.
What I was going to say something. I used to think that Robin would help me become unafraid of it, but no, that's something you have to do yourself. And I think at the time at that course, I didn't necessarily become unafraid of it, but like if you picture like a weighing scales, the feelings of being tired of having the condition outweighed the fear of it. And I was like, I'm just so done. There has to be something I can do. And then I just completely surrendered.
Yeah. The tiredness is such a funny thing, because that's often what gets people to that point where they can't surrender, when they're so sick and tired of fighting it that they're just like, okay, give up. I often compare it to, I've recently found this metaphor and it resonates so much with me. When you're playing chess, right? I don't know if you know how to play chess or if anyone knows how to.
Awful at it, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's, the situation where in the end, and I'm very bad at chess, so I get myself in this position all the time, where you're gonna lose at some point. There's no running away from it, but you keep trying anyway. So you're just like moving your pawn around, and the other party's like running after you, and you just know it's gonna be, finished. And then it's just a matter of when you throw the pawn on the board and just,
Yeah,
I'm tired, like I give up.
yeah.
That's the
Mm.
that's the thing you described with the scale.
If you ever watched like any cartoons or anything like kind of superhero villain shows, like when someone's been cornered in a maze or something like that, that's how I felt like, like there's nowhere else for me to go. I can't fear. I probably could fear it even more if I tried, but I didn't want to. But there were no other options left for me. Like I could try, like let's say, climb out of this metaphorical maze. I can't climb. I just have to let this little monster thing come at me.
What do you think was, like, looking back now, the thing that held you back the most or the longest in between you and your ability to recover?
I think I was afraid of what the DPDR could become, like from a health anxiety perspective, what it would hold me back from and what it meant. So um, there's this always constant fear of being out of control while I had it as well, even though I wasn't. Um, what held me back? Gosh, I don't know. I think I just didn't understand. I was saying to you that I didn't understand that acceptance meant just neutrality. I thought you had to like genuinely enjoy being like this. But no, you don't have to. It's allowed to suck, but you just don't turn it into a victim mindset like what I did for so long.
And I think so. I often tell people, like, it's not about what exactly you do, it's about using the tools to get to that place of neutrality. If you use, for example, because you were kind of doing the things that I gave you, like in terms of meditations and other tools that we did together in sessions, I think you used them, but you were using them almost like a battle sword to like defeat the
Yeah,
power, versus using it as a guiding light, like a guiding way to the point where surrender exists. Um,
yeah.
so it's funny because, like, you can use any tool you find online ever in a very helpful way or in a very unhelpful way. It just very much depends on what
Your
your.
perception or your relationship is towards it.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
So I guess, how are you now? How are you doing today?
I text you one day saying I felt light, like just weightless one day. And I was like, oh my God, this feels incredible. I feel very light. I still have my moments. I'm a very emotional, sensitive person. Um, where like I let things get bubble out of control a small bit, but like that's just who I am as a person. But I feel so like all these things that used to trigger me, like just leaving the house, going to work, they just feel so like easy. These things, I was like, oh my God, I haven't felt this way in so long. I absolutely love it. It's
Oh,
incredible. I feel, oh,
I'm so proud of you, honestly, because I know you had a tough journey with it. And to see you just like blossom, get your driver's license, which is something that you were so like terrified by, and you did it, like you got your driver's license. I think, by
when
the way,
we first started, I actually couldn't get in the car. So like, yay, thank you. 2 videos ago, you mentioned how some people enter this sort of plateauy sort of state where it's like 80, 85, 90% gone. And there's still this little bit that's there. That's kind of where I'm at now. So, but I've talked about it with you a few times that even if this is the way I am for the rest of my life, 90% is still pretty far, you know? Um, I feel very at peace. I still have some triggers for it. So like being in unfamiliar places, being sick like I am now, and also my period, which I'm going to try work with more, maybe go back on birth control or something.
I think some people that might be watching right now also kind of have this like fear of it still, and maybe find that to be something that they become afraid of like, oh my God, is it gonna be that 10% forever? But I think I would advise you, if that's your response to what Kirsten is saying, to watch the video I made two videos ago, where I went deeper into this, because this was actually exactly the same for me. The moment from going to like being so deeply in it to being 90% out of it, or like 80% out of it, took me only 2 or 3 months, like from the moment I actually surrendered. But then that last little bit is just your brain needing to get used to life again and just surrendering to the normality of it. And if you've had it for such a long time, for example, like Kirsten had a year of just constant dread and constantly being petrified and being so dissociated that you could not, I guess, live your life anymore, then that last 10% is just like learning to normalize your experience of life again, which is, I guess, kind of the thing that you're saying.
But like I've also like this is very, very bearable compared to how I was like, let's say back in January. So like one after that course, like that was just such a massive turning point. You know, that's when my recovery started just, and
Yeah.
it actually didn't take too long for me to get to this state either, because like I let it completely overwhelm me, and the monster that it was is now looking a little bit like a lizard. um,
Somewhere in the corner of the brain, just
it's
like
like I see you, I see you.
little, it's just that like that tiny teeny bit, instead of like being sick that you like are housebound, now it's just a little cold, like kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Mm.
like again, you just, every time I see you now, you're this like radiating ball of sunshine.
Robin called me a vampire before we started.
I
I'm
know.
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I
But she
compared
said
her.
when
It's gonna sound so wrong. To give a little side note, I was comparing her because in Twilight, like the vampire movies, like Bella has this like incredible glow up after she's like very sick from like, yeah. Anyways, I just kind of said she looked great out of context.
no. She's calling me a vampire. Let it be known.
Yeah, but it just makes me really happy to see you just living your life and doing so many great things, and with your music career and everything that's going on. It's just like you deserve to enjoy life again, and I'm happy that that's what you're doing.
Mm. Oh.
Oh, stop it.
Ah, stop this.
All right, so I guess like a last question that I have is for the people that are watching right now. Like, what would your final tips be for them looking back now? Like, if you could like just say in a few lines what you would advise to the people watching, looking back on your own journey.
I feel like there's so much I could say. Don't be a victim. Just if Robin or whoever gives you kick up the butt, just take it. But also, one thing that really helped me in the last few months, and even to this day, is that realizing when your brain creates these sensations of dissociation or whatever, your brain is doing its job. Your brain isn't designed to be happy. Your brain is after survival and keeping you alive. So even if you're miserable and stuck in this state, your brain is still doing its job. So I think you need to see that as my brain is doing what it knows best to do. Can I change how I feel towards it? Like your brain works very, very hard. Give it like a pat on the back, you know? Um, so all these things. What else? I wouldn't always recommend having like such an up down experience, but when you if you find yourself ever getting to a point of your feelings of tiredness outweigh the fear, like what I was talking about, I think that's a good sign. That's a sign for you, like, you're ready to make the changes that way, you know? Um, Lastly, um, it just is, things just are, this is just a thing that you will go through, and you'll look back. I'm still not out of the woods just yet. Still, that lizard is still there, and it's going to be there for a while because like I've had this for so long now. But like I don't. It's very hard to think back about how I was so afraid. I can't believe I was that afraid of it when really, you know, it's so easy to say it wasn't so bad. Oh, jeez. Generally, it wasn't the worst
It's since
thing,
6
but
months
I mean,
ago
that's
if you're
me.
looking.
That's that's my new mindset now. Looking at it, I was like, I can't say I'd love to go through this again, but like there was a point back in October where I told you, hey, this thing happened, and it really triggered me, and I'm not feeling too well over it. And I was like, no, I have the tools. I know how to get through this now. And then I made it through the other side again, and it was all Gucci.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm 100% sure that that last 10% is gonna just over time fade away until the point where you look back and go, oh yeah, I remember that I went through DPDR.
Yeah,
But it's the most important thing is just that you feel neutral towards it now and that you can surrender when it's there and just go, okay, hi little lizard in the corner of my brain. You need some food, you need some water, you need some love.
oh,
I'm really proud of you,
oh,
Kirsten, and thank you so much for coming on today and
thank
sharing.
you so much.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. For the people that are
Yeah,
watching, is it okay if they ask you questions in the comment section if they have any questions?
absolutely,
All right, perfect.
definitely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Kirsten, for joining today.
Good luck.
Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next week. And like I said, feel free to ask your questions to Kirsten in the comment section. Bye.
Bye bye.